Hello everyone and welcome back to Sendik's Weather channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at Christmas and the run up to Christmas. Now to start with, we'll take a look at the weather regime's probabilities from the ECMWF to see what the general trend is surrounding up to Christmas and around the Christmas period. We'll also take a look at our regular general charts, and we'll also take a look at the weekly anomalies from the ECM to see what the trend generally is. And of course we'll take a look at the main models and its ensembles. If you do enjoy this video and you find it informative, then please don't remember to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Really helps me out, and we're on the road to 600 subscribers. So here we go then. So I've started off with these weather regime probabilities, as you can see there. Between now and the 14th, we're in a blocking pattern. However, the high pressure is sat over the top of the country, meaning it's mostly dry, and we have a slack easterly flow at times. However, mostly it's not too bad, but it does feel quite cold at the surface. Now, as you can see, there's not a particular regime for the next couple of days. It turns more westerly between the 16th and the 19th. Positive NAO means high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north, which means like a typical westerly pattern. However, as you can see towards the Christmas period, there is a lot of uncertainty. However, as you can just make out here, with these red bars, there is a higher than average chance of blocking. Now, where that block sits is key. If it sits between the UK or over the top of the UK and Iceland, then it means it will be dry, but could be quite cold. If the block is set up towards Greenland, then that indicates northerly winds, cold northerlies, like a certain run might be showing today. And if you had obviously the Atlantic ridge in, that would be a mid-Atlantic ridge, so from the Atlantic, like the Azores High or something, from the Atlantic extending up towards Greenland, not a sustained block in its positioning. Or it could be towards Scandinavia. However, that does not, a Scandinavian high does not look well, it could be likely around the beginning of January. However, things are a lot uncertain, much more uncertain. As you can see, though, as we go through January, there is a signal around mid-Jan, as I suggested in my live stream, go check it out, of a blocking pattern possibly shaping up as we go through January. So something to keep an eye on. Let's just have a look then. So this is showing the weekly mean anomalies from the ECM for the 20th, 23rd to the 30th of December, so the Christmas week. And I don't normally usually make a separate video for these, but as you can see, it doesn't look particularly cold. It has high pressure just over and to the west of the country. However, it's to the south typically, and low pressure is towards Greenland, and you may expect a pretty mild Christmas, with winds in from the west, and with the temperature anomalies and the mean sea level pressure anomalies. Temperatures are above average, possibly near normal in the south, but as we'll see today from these models, they might be indicating something a little bit different. Now we'll start with the GFS, the American model, and obviously there's that high pressure set over the top of the country, which is considered a block because it is actually towards Greenland and towards Scandinavia. However, it's not really a blocking feature, blocking pattern. Get a transient ridge through Saturday. This is the 14th of December, and then as we move through, it turns very mild for a time between the 15th and 16th, 17th. That is pretty certain, with winds in from the southwest. And then as we move through, you can see that southwesterly maintains on this run, then turns into more of a southerly, so some very warm air wafts up from Spain with this, and this low pressure to the west could be bringing in unsettled conditions to the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and western parts of Scotland on the 19th, so that could be a very unsettled but mild day. Look at those air masses. Temperature deviation, much milder than average. Something to watch out for. However, beyond that, the GFS doesn't make much of it and just continues the Atlantic onslaught, really, with low pressures running in from off the Atlantic and a barrage of westerlies, and just a typical pattern. For Christmas, it looks quite westerly, so maybe only snow confined to the north, if there is any, with winds in from a flat, mild westerly. Doesn't look very interesting on that run. Now the GEM in comparison, let's have a look at that. So again, transient ridge through Saturday into Sunday, so it doesn't look bad at the weekend, but could be a little bit chilly. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is where we see that southwesterly southerly with them very mild air masses wafting up. The GEM has a slight bit more of a ridge in the Atlantic. Doesn't quite get up to Greenland, as the PV, or the polar vortex, tropospheric polar vortex, is too strong and pushes breaks down the ridge quite quick. If we do pull in some relatively cooler air, with the -5 line getting into the country. Would be a lot of dry weather with that, before the high looks like it'll topple back in and you'll return to a westerly pattern. So the GEM's slightly more interesting, but it would be quite cold with that at the end of the run, around the 20th. Could be some frost and fog, possibly a little bit of winteriness on that northern edge of that low, but very uncertain, as it's just an air mass moving through. Could be a transitional period though. And then finally, the one which everyone's been talking about, the ECM, has gone for it today. Wow. So again, very similar for the next few days. You can actually see a little bit more of a ridge in the Atlantic from the ECM here. It brings down more of a northerly on Friday, with this low pressure clearing to the east and bringing down a transient northerly. Could bring some colder air in, with the -5 line sinking southwards. Covers the whole country, but it's under a ridge, so lots of dry weather for that. Would feel quite cold though. And then, as you can see, this high pressure continues to be dominant, and then eventually moves out to the west. The low pressure, or the PV, kind of breaks apart, and it moves towards Scandinavia and the Nordic regions, allows this high pressure to retrogress towards Greenland, in like a mid-Atlantic region. Then down comes a proper cold northerly. -10 line gets in. Well, that would be a shock to the system, and look when it happens, Christmas Day. So things aren't definitely certain yet. I would say it's an outlier, but it's something to look at. Look at them cold air masses coming from the north. Definitely would be enough for some snowy showers to come from the north, but obviously very unlikely. But in the long range as well, 300 hours away. However, it does show that the high pressure out in the west is quite sustained there, really. Stays out to our west, and allows that sort of pattern as that low, as the PV splits apart sort of thing, and moves towards Scandinavia and brings down this bitterly cold northerly. Now, that would be enough to produce snow anywhere. And very unsettled, tightly packed isobars, quite unsettled with those little kinks in the isobars. That indicates troughs and features could be something. So that'd be a very cold and wintry Christmas day. It could be a white Christmas. Widespread white Christmas, if that happens. So this is the 12Z suite. So from the ECM ensembles, these are what all 52 members are showing. They're all comprised into different scenarios. So this is at day 10. Now this has changed in the last 12 hours. This is showing up to the 20th of December. So we've got 21 here, 41% with high pressure out just to the west, not towards Greenland. However, it does show two lobes of low pressure. Could be the PV splitting up, the tropospheric PV being weakened. Somehow, not really sure. Maybe it's this this warming going on. It's very, very minor though. I wouldn't assume this would have an impact, but it shows high pressure moving in the Atlantic, and low pressure to our east, bringing down a pretty cold northerly. Probably will be quite transient with that, as the low looks like it's going to topple over the high and collapse it quite quick, but could be a transient cold snap. 17 here, including the controlling operational. This looks very similar to what it showed, with high pressure to the west. Almost up towards Greenland, but not quite. Low pressure just to our east, and winds are in from a chilly northeasterly. And then 13 with high pressure again to the west. That looks like a common trend with these. Very, very quick flip as well. And low pressure to the east with winds in from a cold northeasterly. Looks very transient and quite dry with that. Apart from in the east, where there could be a few showers, possibly wintry. And then taking us to Christmas Day, the big day. Few interesting options here. Now, this did not look like the operational run I saw on the ECM, so I'm not really sure how it came to that scenario, but including the operational, 17 members, high pressure just to the south, low pressure to the north, winds are in from the west. Did not show that on the chart I've just shown you, I don't think. 13 with high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north again, winds in from a mild westerly. Then there's a few different options. These 8, 7 and 6 are all quite cold. 8 with high pressure just out to the west, a ridge in the Atlantic, and low pressure towards France, and winds are in from, through Western Europe, and winds are in from the north, cold northerly. 7 with high pressure just to the north, just to the east as well, could be like a Scandi high, not quite though. It's between kind of Scotland and the Nordic regions, bringing in a slightly chilly easterly, quite dry but quite cold with frost and fog possible. And then 6 with bit more of a sort of Scandi high, I guess, with winds around that coming from the east. It's definitely something to watch out for. What's my thoughts on the Christmas period? I think it probably will likely be westerly, but I wouldn't rule out the chance of a cold Christmas. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I would say actually that there is more, slightly higher chance of a colder spell, especially at the moment with the charts that that they're showing. But obviously it's the weather; things can change at quite short notice. But I thought it were interesting anyway, and yeah, just let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next weather video.